Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Atlanta Thrashers franchise mode here in NHL 21. Now, I want to let you guys know that we're finally finished pre-recorded episodes. I was on vacation in Nova Scotia and in Vancouver, like in BC area, so I was away for like an entire month, so I pre-recorded a bunch of videos over that span, so I haven't recorded a video in probably like 2 or 3 weeks, I would assume. At this point. So anyways, in last episode, I believe we started up the season simulation after we had free agency, which was not really that eventful. Like, we didn't pick up really much of anything, but we're off to a really good start, going 25, 13, 1, and 2. I believe the only problem, which is kind of directed to a comment that Hawks fan made, that he said that we're doing very well, but hopefully the power play adjustments could get us to score a little bit more. So I believe our scoring was just not doing too well, but we were simulating very well, and that's a good sign, obviously, considering we just coming off our first ever Stanley Cup win over the Dallas Stars. So hopefully we could win another Stanley Cup, because we are running down on time left in the series and in our Detroit series, because NHL 22 is like right around the corner. Like, we got pretty much a month around at this point when you guys are watching this video, because I'm pre-recording this on the Friday, so it's technically the 13th. Yeah, so we're like a month away from NHL 22, which means we probably only have a couple more episodes left of the series before we actually have to wrap it up. So but anyways, let's continue to simulate. I don't think we're going to be making much trades, because I believe I already adjusted the lineups like Hawks fan was saying for our like power play unit. But our team has been putting up some good numbers for the most part for like the top 6 wise, and I think I adjusted the power play a little bit. Yeah, if I remember correctly, I put Ferguson on and Kondratyov on, because I think we had all forwards on the power play originally. So I think I adjusted it, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, let's continue to simulate, see if this team continues to win games, and we should be a playoff team, no doubt, unless we lose a lot of games, which could happen, but I don't think that's going to happen with the type of team we have. So let's go to February the 1st and see how we simulate. Hopefully we can get some more wins. And there's one, there's a loss, there's another win, yep, we're still winning games, which is good. It looks like we're scoring a little bit more goals. Oh, it's 0-0 tie. Okay, never mind. With Boston. Of course, after I say we're scoring a decent amount, then we don't score a single goal, but we don't give up one either, which is kind of neat. You don't see 0-0 ties that often. There's back-to-back losses, which is not that great. This guy's on waivers. He's kind of intriguing, but I'm not going to claim him, because I never usually claim waiver players. In the last game of the month, we win 4-1 over the Habs, so we are 31-16, 2-2 at February the 1st. We are still second best in our division, because the Islanders are nuts this year. They're 34-8-8, 10 points above us at the moment. But yeah, we're in a good spot at the moment, so yeah, let's just continue to simulate. Kovalchuk's way over point per game, so I guess our top 6 is still continuing to kill it, which is good, but I don't know how the other lines have been since we made those adjustments to the power play and whatnot. But let's go to a day before the trade deadline. I don't think we're going to be making any trades at the deadline, but who knows, maybe we'll bring in somebody if need be. There's 3 wins to start the month. Jero Barron is on waivers. Who are you? 77, top 60, undrafted. I don't really need more depth. Even though it'd be interesting, there's more wins. Yeah, this team is doing really good for coming off a cup win, and Ilya Kovalchuk has broke his nose, so that kind of sucks, but it's not too long term. He's out till the 17th of March, so we'll go replace player for now. But yeah, that sucks to lose Kovalchuk for a little bit. He should return soon. Actually, he's out for like right till March 17th, did it say, or February 17th? Huh, I thought it said February 17th. Like, he should be back by now already, technically, right? Unless I'm mistaken. Let me just see. No, he's still injured, so it must be till March 17th. Interesting. But we are still second best in our division. We are actually catching up to the Islanders. We're only 6 points behind them now, which is a good sign. And we look like we're we're one of the top 4 teams in the NHL. The Oilers are also having a crazy season. Good so far. Let's continue to simulate. Bergeron's already got 40 goals in 69 games, so he might hit 50 this year. Let's go to the trade deadline. Not that I think we're going to be making any trades. Let's go in as a buyer and just see what there is available. Like I said, I don't think we're going to be making trades, but Don Merritt's on the trading block. Interesting. That's a guy I could have signed a few years back, but I didn't end up. Exact top 6, 88 overall sniper, 1 year left. That's pretty good, but I don't really think I have the trade value to get somebody like him. Yeah, he's got way too much trade value. I don't think I could trade for somebody like him. We'll try and find a trade with Boston, see if they want to give him us for something cheap, but I doubt we will be able to. So they want Clemmy, who's a medium elite defenseman, and now we're getting offered a trade. I don't want a trade offer to get rid of you. I hate how it gets rid of the trade offer that you had previously. That makes no sense. Okay, so let's see. Don Merritt. So Clemmy, who's a medium elite defenseman, a 5th and a 7th. That's not terrible. I don't remember when we drafted Clemmy, because Clemmy's a 59 at 20 medium elite. He's not going to pan out to being something huge. Is it weird if I actually want to make this trade, though? Because what happens if I do this trade? Like, then technically our forward core would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then, yeah, Snyder would have to get sent down. But we could do that. Do I really want to trade for Don Merritt? He's a really good player. And he does fit our third line. You know what? We're going to make this trade. If Boston's willing to do that. I know Clemmy's medium elite defenseman, but we have a lot of defensemen, and he was a 3rd round pick that might not pan out to being much of anything. So let's just do this deal. Why not? I don't see the problem with doing that. So Don Merritt is now on the team, which gives our team an insane looking. Like, look at how insane our team looks. It's going to give less ice time to somebody like, not Jalen Kemp, but Camilleri. But I think this is a very good move for our team. Okay, so that's the only trade we're going to make. Kind of a weird trade to throw out as my first episode, not pre-recorded, but I think adding Don Merritt is going to be good for this team. Even though he only has 1 year left, he should help our scoring out even more so. So now we got to adjust our lines, which means I'm going to take Snyder out of the lineup for the time being. Actually, yeah, I'm going to just put Don Merritt where Snyder was. And then once Kovalchuk returns, I'll have to readjust the lineup appropriately. But we'll put like Kemp on the top line. Or not Kemp, Merritt on the top line. Eventually, I think Camilleri will move down here. And then Ivanov would go down to the 4th line. Which means I think we'd take out Wolski out of the lineup. If we're going to take somebody out. Yeah, probably something along those lines. But that makes our team really filthy looking. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Once Kovalchuk returns, we're going to have to make a little bit of a change to our roster, but that's okay. And we'll probably send Snyder down in that sense, but I think that makes our team like an elite threat with adding somebody like Merritt, because how much points did Merritt have with Boston? Out of curiosity. 53 points in 62 games. Yeah, he's a pretty good player. We've played him in the playoffs before when he was with Boston, so anyways, let's get the rest of the season done with. Kind of a weird trade to make, especially with our team doing so good. Hopefully it doesn't make us fall apart. But let's get the rest of the season done. We'll go to the 17th, just because that's when Ilya Kovalchuk, I believe, is supposed to be returning. But I wouldn't be surprised if Merritt's over point per game with us, or just below point per game. So Kovalchuk is returned, which means now we got to send down Snyder. So I think I'd send down Snyder, right? How old is Snyder even? 24 years old. You know what, we're going to send down Easton Hillen. Yeah, we're going to send down Easton Hillen because we don't need Easton Hillen up here. And I believe we will now readjust our lineup, which means now Kovalchuk goes back to the top line. I believe we could take out Camilleri for Merritt. Yeah, something like that. And then we could take out Ivanov for Camilleri. I don't really like how to adjust our chemistry. There we go. That works a bit more. But I don't really want to move Kemp down. So I could try and move Merritt down. But that's a little bit too good down there. And then we'll take out Wolski and throw in Ivanov. And I think that's all we could do pretty much. So it doesn't really help out our chemistry a bit. But it does give us another stronger player in terms of overall. Camilleri was playing really good this year. But he is dropping off. So Don Merritt's a good replacement, and he's only 27 as well. So I think that makes our roster pretty good. And that gives us our depth as Gugnot, Snyder, and Wolski. Yeah, it sucks to scratch somebody like Wolski who's only 25, but it makes sense for our team to bring in another good player like Don Merritt. So that is our lineup. So that is our lineup going into the rest of the regular season. So hopefully Don Merritt could help our team out. And it seems like it so far because we now have scored won 3 straight games. But I think Don Merritt will help address that offensive problem I was mentioning with our power play and stuff like that. So I think that is a good move for our team. We've won 4 straight games now. Let's continue to simulate these last few games of the season. We tie with Boston 4-4. Malkin was never injured. Tie with St. Louis, lose 2 games. A little bit of a bad streak near the end, but we still have 50 wins on the season, which is nice. We got 3 more games left. Let's get those ones done. And we lose 6-1. We lose 6-1. Malkin was never injured again, and we lose that one. So we lose 3 straight games going into the playoffs, which might be a good sign that this team is going to do really good in the playoffs, because sometimes that happens. We finished the season 50-25, 5-2, which is a pretty good record. And second best in our division with 107 points. The Islanders finished first in our division with 115. And yeah, it looks like we finished the 4th best team in the NHL because the Oilers finished second with 113 points, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe actually we finished 3rd. My math is wrong. And wow, Bergeron really struggled near the second half. Well, it seems like a lot of the offense dropped off, but maybe the depth scoring picked up or something. Because their top line was way over point per game, but they only finished with 98 points. Nobody broke 100, which is kind of surprising. Well, let's take a look at our player stats for the season. Actually, let me just make sure the NHL season's fully done. No, it's not. Let's advance a day then. There we go. Now it's fully done. Just because when we check the standings and all that. So let's take a look at our player stats for the season. So starting off with our centerman, Patrice Bergeron, with a really good season. 98 points in 82 games, a plus 35 as well. 45 goals, which I believe is a career high. Yeah, that's a career high for sure. I love Bergeron. Bergeron's a very good player from this team, and I'm really glad I drafted him. Still signed for a long-term deal. Malkin, 89 points this year, 30 goals, and a plus 38. Very good season from Gino. One of his best yet, I think. Frolov, 72 points in 82 games. How does Vladimir Frolov all of a sudden put up 72 points? Damn. Frolov has been a really big surprise of a player because, in his earlier stages, I was using him more as a 4th liner. He was putting up 20 to 23 points. You give him a little bit more ice time, and he goes from 49 points to 72 points. He's a really good power play player. I'm really impressed with him. 4 shorthanded goals as well, 8 shorthanded points. Vladimir Frolov is a very solid, underrated player. Love him. And Houghton, 64 points. So it looks like our depth scoring actually picked up a lot throughout the last half of the season. So very good stats from our centerman. How about left wing wise? Kovalchuk had 83 points, which is really good. And he only played 73 games because he missed some due to injury. Don Merritt, 62 points in 82 games. He put up 9 points only in 20 games with us, which is a bit of a surprise. Maybe he wasn't getting as much ice time. Yeah, he was getting 5 less minutes on ice per game. I don't know if he's on the power play unit. I should actually put him on there if he isn't. Just to make sure, Jalen Kemp, 56 points is pretty good. Ivanov, 48 points. Camilleri, 47 points. Pispin at 25. And Snyder, 3 and 8. So, yeah, I think our depth scoring is pretty good. It looks like it picked it up. And then Bork, 51 points. Wolski, 27 and 68. And Soderstrom had 17 and 82. Defensively, Gordon Ferguson had 27, was a plus 30. Kondraty, 26 points and a plus 22. Martinez, 22 points and a plus 29. Brody had 20 points but was a minus 5, so he went back to being a minus defender, but that is okay. Still puts up a decent amount of points. Jalen Wall, 18 points and a plus 24. Connolly, 10 points and only a plus 3, which is kind of surprising for Reed Connolly, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because usually he's a plus 23 or so, but this year he kind of struggled. And then Guggenot only played 1 game this year. Goalie-wise, Carey Price was fantastic this season, 45, 22, and 2, with 4 shutouts and 904 save percentage, and a 2.79 goals against average, playing 74 games. And then Jackson Robbins in his first year as a backup goalie, because we let go of Brian Elliott, went 5-4 with 2 shutouts and 900 save percentage and a 2.99 goals against average. So we look like we are a pretty good defensive team as well, for the most part. Now let's take a look at the entire league. The best player this year was Evan Lotz of the New York Islanders, who had 102 points this season. Yeah, this guy's pretty good. For his 3rd season in the NHL, putting up 100 plus points. Wow. And the most goals this year was Alex Ovechkin by far with 58 goals. Jeez. Okay, OVICU. Best plus minus for fun was Danil Chaka of the Islanders, who was a plus 60. Jeez, the Islanders score a lot of goals. Most penalty minutes this year was Maddox Dawes, who had 304 penalty minutes. What the heck? I don't think I've ever seen a guy put up 300 penalty minutes in a franchise mode. Damn, this guy's a goon. He's already got 1,125 penalty minutes in 320 games, but he still has 111 points. Interesting. Some weird players in this franchise mode. How about defensively? The best defenseman for points was Bernard Boussier with 82 points for the New York Islanders. Not a surprise. Followed by Jay Bouwmeester, Abraham Spezza, and Maxime Ponikarovsky, two Edmonton Oilers defenders. Best goalie this year for wins was Georges Lefebvre of the Islanders. Not a surprise there. Carey Price was second in wins, which is pretty awesome. Only two goalies actually broke 40 wins, and those were those two. Most shutouts this year was Dmitry Nikitin of the Nashville Predators with 7 shutouts. Best save percentage by a starting goalie was Craig Anderson with a .917 save percentage in Detroit. But then there was also Bob Banks, which sounds like a really cool name for the Islanders. Best goals against average by a starter was Bob Banks. So it looks like Bob Banks might be your Vezina winner for the season. And then best rookie this year for points was Gustavo Summers of the New Jersey Devils with 75 points. Year up there as well as Sepanen and Saul Kovalchuk. Interesting. Okay, so that's the player stats. Let's take a look at team stats, see what we did good and what we did bad at, and then like the playoffs start next episode. So who are we going to face is the question. So we finished third best in the NHL, which is pretty good. Only one of 6 teams to crack 100 points this year. Let's take a look. Goals for per game wise, we were the 4th best offensive team in the NHL, which is awesome to see that. Only behind the LA Kings, the Edmonton Oilers, and New York Islanders. And then in terms of goals against wise, we were not the best defensive team, not even close actually, really. We were 8th best behind the Minnesota Wild, San Jose Sharks, Edmonton Oilers, Detroit Red Wings, LA Kings, and the New York Islanders. Damn, the Islanders are the best offensive team, the best defensive team. They're probably going to get swept in the first round, just watch though. Best power play. Our power play was not that good. The Islanders had a good power play again, but our power play looks like it was still not that great, but it did improve, I believe, since the start of the year. 18.7%. And then penalty kill wise, our penalty kill was one of the best in the league at 84.3%. So we just need to still get that power play going. I don't know if Dom Merritt's on the power play. If he's not, I'll put him on there and maybe he will help that power play out. In terms of shorthanded goals, we were one of the best in terms of scoring shorthanded goals with 8 this year, most of them coming from Frolov. We had a really good home record and a very solid away record. Actually, not as good of a away record. And we're 3-5-2 going into the playoffs, which might be a good sign for things to come. Now we find out who we are taking on in round 1 in the playoffs. Hopefully it's a team we could beat. We don't have a lot of times left to win the Stanley Cup again, and we're going to be taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins in the playoffs in round 1. This should be pretty interesting. They finished 39-30-9-4 on the season, so not a really good record. Hopefully they're not the cheese team that can knock us out. Let's just take a look at how they did during the regular season as opposed to us, and then we'll take a look at their roster. So they finished way below our point totals, so they finished like 16 points back of us. They scored way less, or not really way less goals, but less goals. We were way better defensively, which is not a surprise. They had a worse power play. Yeah, we're technically better at everything than they were, which makes sense because we finished way above them in the standings, but we should be able to beat them, I would assume, but I don't know what their roster looks like because I don't think we've ever played the Penguins before. So let's see what the Penguins are made of going into the first round of the playoffs. So their top line, Pavel Markov, who was drafted by them 13th overall, as well as Sven Grossman, who was also drafted by them 3rd overall recently, and Valery Shishkinov. So yeah, this team might be a good young team, maybe with some veterans though. So yeah, that's a pretty solid first line actually. Better than I thought. Second line has Alex Tanguay, Olli Jokinen, and Chuck Kopstals. So 2 veterans and a younger guy. But I do really like their top 6 for the most part. Like Jokinen and Tanguay would be better as third liners probably, but they do have some really good like players. All these 4 players. Third line they have Taylor Pyatt, Milan Kraft is still there, which is kind of a surprise, and Dinas Zubris. So more veterans on that third line. And in fourth line, Oli Barkov, Patrick Stefan, our former player of ours, probably close to retirement, and Gilbert Tyrion. So yeah, that's an interesting roster. A lot of veteran players, but also a lot of younger players. So it's a good mix, I think, between youth and veteran-heavy players. And then defensively, they have Justin Kaminsky, who's a defensive defenseman, I guess. Yeah, defensive defenseman with Brent Clark, who's 30 years old already. He puts up a decent amount of points. Second pairing has Santiago Simpson and Terrence Lee. Yeah, I believe Terrence Lee is pretty good offensively, right? Yeah, 30-plus points or so. And then on their top six pairing, they have still Eric Brewer and Lucas Liston. So a lot of younger guys as well in the defensive core, and some veterans like Brewer and Brant Clark. And then goalie-wise, they have Jakub Spruev, who I believe, yeah, he was in a different team before. He was with Chicago. But this goalie is kind of it looks like he's having some bounce-back seasons with Pittsburgh, but he was really struggling in Chicago in his earlier years. But this guy's barely got any playoff experience, so hopefully we can take advantage of that. They also have Lorenzo Pitonli as their backup, who's a medium elite goalie that they drafted in the 7th round, which is interesting. And then depth-wise, they have Isaiah Edmonds, who's actually probably a roster player of theirs, but he's out with an injury. So our former defenseman of ours, coming over from Boston last year, he's been kind of a journeyman since leaving us. But that's interesting. Maybe he's more of a depth defenseman for them, but still, that's a pretty good player. And then they also have Lee Ackers, who I recognize that name for some reason. Did we play him? We must have played him in the playoffs at one point or something. I don't even know. And they also have Sean Avery as a depth guy. Jeez. Yeah, hopefully he doesn't get thrown into the lineup to beat the crap out of our guys. Jeez. Okay. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Orlando Thrashers franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to round 1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins as we look to upset them, well, not upset them, beat them, and get to the second round and continue on our quest for a second straight Stanley Cup. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.